Hi, and welcome to Beyond Empty Nest. I'm your host, Jody Silverman, speaker, mentor, and Chief Dare Officer at Moms Who Dare. Every Thursday, I'll share stories of midlife transformation, happiness tips, and dare you to see the opportunities waiting for you so that you can make this next chapter even better than the last. If you're ready to dare, I'm ready to dare with you. Let's get into today's episode. All right, we have not your average grandma in the house with us. She says Laurie Wright, AKA not your average grandma. I want to say not your average grandma, AKA Laurie Wright. Laurie helps empty nesters who wake up most days feeling unmotivated and dissatisfied about their less than meaningful lives. She helps them move past the sadness of their kids leaving and discover what's next so they can spend this next chapter feeling lit up and excited about life. Is it any wonder that you and I are connected? That we have connected
No,
about it?
yeah. We
I mean,
definitely are simpatico.
yes, because we get to live a life, a chapter lit up and just as fun, if not more fun than the last one. So I'm so excited to have you as a guest on Beyond Empty Nest. Fun fact, Laurie is the host of her own amazing podcast called Living Your Spark Second Half. And if I'm going to dare you right now, we're going to have a double dare. Laurie will give you a dare, but I have a dare. After you listen to this episode or watch it on YouTube, I want you to head right over to wherever you listen to podcasts, find Living Your Spark Second Half. We'll put a link below. And fun fact is, look for episode 272 because I was the guest on episode 272. But
Yeah, it's almost 3 years I've been doing it. And I procrastinated for 3 years. I had the idea, but I didn't know, like, what am I gonna talk about? I don't know enough, blah, 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 all those doubts,
all that stuff talk. Yes. So,
Yes.
well, Laurie, we are going to talk today about a topic that I don't think we can ever talk enough about as coaches in the empty nest midlife space, finding our purpose. Finding and we're talking about empty nest. There's moms who really, really define their purpose as fully wrapped up in their role of being mom. And then you have the midlife woman who maybe there's a midlife woman out there that doesn't, identify as a mom the way we were talking about empty nest mom, but maybe what she's doing isn't really lighting her up anymore. So, you know, where do you begin when somebody says to you, I just don't know what my purpose is. I don't even know where to begin or where to look or how to find it.
Yeah. Well, let me address the fact that you might not be a mother if
Yeah.
you have an empty nest, because to me, our previous life, our first half, was we had something in our nest that filled us up.
True.
So I think when you get to your second half and you're feeling empty inside, and it's just women, a lot of women, some moms, it wasn't their kids that filled them up, it was something else that they did.
Yeah.
Some people just don't enjoy being a mom. I happen to enjoy being a mom. I worked full time. I wasn't a stay-at-home mom, but, and I always thought I was fulfilled, and I think I mistakenly sometimes thought it was my job. But when my kids left, oh my gosh, it was like a human tornado had gone through my house and cleared everything out that mattered to me. And
Mm,
so, to me, the empty nest is the empty is because you feel empty inside.
yeah.
And it's all about what is the meaning in my life going forward, because I had this meaning. My kids don't need me anymore. And if you're really, really, and I will challenge people, if you're really, really involved in your kid's life, is that really fulfilling you in a deep way? And it might be. I mean, it's different for everybody. I say find what uniquely sparks you and lights you up.
Mm,
But just because you were a mom and loved that doesn't mean because you're a grandma, that's your purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you clarified that. I like how you reframed the word empty in there because yeah, you're totally on point. And I also loved what is the meaning in my life? That's a great question. What is
Yeah.
meaningful for me? Because I was one of those ones. I loved being a mom, but I also always loved having something of my own.
Yeah.
And I had friends who just loved being a full-time 100% mom. It's really what lit them up. And they were doing exactly what they were meant to be doing. So there's no right or wrong, but I really like how you define empty.
Yeah,
Empty.
I came to realize that my kids were my first clients as a coach.
Oh. Um,
Because that was what I loved is advising them and mentoring them and seeing them pursue their dreams and seeing them have the aha moments. And I was even their coach in extracurricular activities, but I
right.
never thought I had the knowledge and experience, which I didn't, but you can always get, doesn't mean matter how old you are.
Right.
And I thought I had to go back to school, and
Right.
that was not something that I wanted to do. That going back to school because I never liked school to begin with, because I didn't know what I liked to do. Yeah.
There's another thing we connect on. No,
Yeah.
God, no, no
Yeah.
school for me, but
I
I
like the talking and lunchtime.
and I like talking lunch and play.
Yes.
Me too. Me too. All right. So, okay. Now that we're clarified there, where would you tell somebody to start to look for any kind of inspiration to finding what it is that feels empty, the purpose, the meaning?
Sure. Yeah. So I came up with a new chart that I just shared in a free training I did. It was a brand new free training, and I was like, "This is what I need to tell people," because I've found through coaching people. I call myself a purpose coach. I've really clarified and niche down because that is what feel I love the most, and what I've really been helping people with over the past I started about 4 years ago, and it's just gotten clearer and clearer over the 4 years of that's, like, kinda my specialty area, but I
Yeah.
found that in my working with people is, number 1, there's 2 elements to more you apply these or the more you, capture these in your life, the happier, like, number goes up, the arrow goes up.
Okay.
Number 1, interest. So you have to be interested. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be skilled in it. Just be interested in it because if you're interested enough in it, you will develop the skill.
Yes.
So first of all, forget thinking you need to, you don't have it because you can get it. And you don't need to know that much. I used to always think, oh, I'm just not an expert and compare yourself to the people that are out there that are doing all the things. You just really need to know 5% more than the person. You just need to help them with that next step. And if you've done it yourself, then it's probably something that you can lean on because that's what I love about being in my second half is we have this wisdom, this lived
Yeah.
experience that is a part of our package.
Yes.
And so it's our knowledge, it's our wisdom, it's, our failures that have taught us so much that we can use. So it's number one, look for what you're interested in. We tend to go to what we're skilled at. I actually just heard a podcast and the guy was like, I think your purpose, you don't start with your purpose, you start with, what you're good at. I was like, I do not agree with that. I need to do a
No,
podcast episode on
because what
that.
you're interested in, like you just said, you might not know how to do it and you might never, but if you're interested and it really lights you up, you can figure it out. You know,
Exactly.
we have Google.
Yeah,
We have Google.
yes, I can't tell you how many people do what they're good at that doesn't light them up. They
Right.
do it because their mom wanted them to. They do it because it makes money. They do it because they're trapped in that thing that they're good at.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that is number 1 is you be interested in it. And so number 2 is it has to have meaning.
Mhm.
And when I say meaning, it has to be aligned with your values. And so many people don't know what they value. We've lost sight of that, and I think that is a lot of the mistake that moms have made because, like, what did you do when if you had any spare time as a mom and you went to the store, what did you do? You bought
Right.
something for your kids, right? I
Exactly.
can't tell you but when my kids left, it was the weirdest feeling to go out and realize that, like, I can just buy stuff for myself now. What's important to me? What do I value? And I didn't even know I didn't have personal values. It was all like, oh, my company's goals and values. And I knew what those were. But it's like when it comes down to it, what are like your top values in life? If you're not aligned with what you value and the activity that you're doing, it's not gonna have meaning to you.
And you won't have interest, and then you'll lose interest.
Yeah. So it's like a combination of things because and with meaning, there's gotta be a deeper, like, I think, where you're making an impact. So, but what we make the mistake of doing is we put other people's values, we put meaning on their values, but they drain us, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, we're doing it for somebody else and not for us. And then we think we're selfish, but we're not really selfish because I use the analogy of we are so busy pouring our cup into other people's cups and we're always drained and it's tiring, it's exhausting. But when you are filling your own cup with what's important to you, it's not selfish
No.
because then you have a full cup to keep flowing into other people. So,
Like that
the
analogy.
more you're lit up, it's not selfish at all. It's selfish to be drained.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's obvious, but we get caught up in these obligations and these activities and doings because we're just nurturers at heart, a lot of us.
It's our default. I love that analogy. I love it because
Yeah.
you can't pour from an empty pitcher. You just can't.
No, no,
Right, so
no.
something you're interested in, it has to align with your values to have meaning for
Meaning.
yourself.
Yes. Yes. And when you can find the deeper meaning, a lot of people walk around who aren't fulfilled because they just don't feel like they're valued anymore.
Mm.
They had value as a mom, their kids needed them. But now when they get older, it's just like they're getting used. They're not really valued. And so when you can find something that you're interested in that kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Well, how can I help the world with this thing that I'm interested in? And it doesn't have to be like a huge like, oh, I'm helping 5 million people. It can
Right.
be I'm just helping a small little group of people. I'm helping my neighbors, with some new thing. A lot of people in my neighborhood like to master garden and they're doing these gardens. And so, like, oh, they're helping each other with this new skill that they're learning and they're loving and they're out in nature and things like that. So, a lot of times people think that purpose has to be this grand thing.
No.
And that's another mistake they make. What I've decided, I use this also, that purpose, because it's so big, people think it's unattainable. In their head, they're like, well, a couple things. There's limiting beliefs around them, like,
Right.
oh, well, if I had one, I would know it by now, or I had one and I lost it and it's over. It's never over.
No,
Never
no,
over.
no. God, that's a whole nother topic of
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of examples, like Grandma Moses I loved was 76, and she, started painting when she was 76, and she lived to you live longer when you have purpose, so if you think your purpose is over, you better find another one because if you don't, your mortality rate will be higher. But yeah, so purpose to me, people make the mistake, it's a thing, it's this and it's like a destination to get to.
Yes.
And it just seems so far and so difficult to find that it's like, that's a trip I'm not taking. Where what I found is that purpose is a verb, not a noun. Purpose is in the going to the destination. Purpose is in the traveling to and the
Woo!
doing. It's the doing of the activity. Purpose is in the activity, and you got to start doing to even find it. So
I'm writing that down. Purpose is in the activity. I like
yeah,
when you
yeah,
reframe that because I do think when you hear people say passion and purpose, like, "Ugh,"
yeah,
I don't like using those words. And I know I've used them, but it's too daunting. It's too big,
yeah,
too scary. And it ignites. You say, I'm going to find my passion. Oh my God. If every limiting belief and every fear you ever had that you thought you worked through just now just like bubbles up.
yeah.
I like that. I like purpose is in the activity. I like
Yeah, and
that.
if you think about it, when you go on trips, how many trips have you got? The more fun or most fun trips are when you don't have a timeline, right? Well, oh, we'll just get there when we get there, and then you're like,
Yes.
oh, look at that exit. Let's go off there and see what's there and go on a little adventure. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're experimenting, trying on different things, and does that really interest me? What could I do with this? And when you do that, and we can get a whole discussion about, like, your intuition and messages from the universe because I was so closed off from that and didn't have, that's what
Yeah.
and busy when we're busy and we have busy lives, it completely shuts you off. But when you're not on a timetable and you're carefree and you're open and you're in the quiet, you get these messages. It's guidance from our angels, from God, from, your higher self.
Yeah.
A lot of people are trying to get through to you. So
Well, and I
so
love, I say that this show is everything and sprinkled with a little woo because
yeah,
you're preaching to the choir and your dare is gonna bring in a little
yeah,
woo for people.
yeah,
But
yeah. So when you get off on that exit, it gives you an opportunity to, like, be freer and to hear things that might come up. It's like, "I don't know where this is gonna take me, but trust. It might make no sense, but trust me that something's gonna bubble up." And so, yeah, so I like that kind of analogy of it's like, it's the destination because it's the things you find along the way, and then it perks your interest, and then it's like, "Oh, well, this has meaning because I could do this with it," kinda thing.
yeah, no, I love that. So
Yeah,
is there so figure out what you're interested in, what interests you.
yeah.
What I always say, I said, what is somebody else doing that you keep looking at thinking, wow, that looks cool. That looks like I could do that.
Okay, you wanna hear this is gonna be crazy. All right.
Like that.
Because, we think we're so crazy. We think, like, that, you hide stuff too because it's like and there there's this whole thing about, like, trying to fit in and trying to hide who you really are, and so you're not really living your authentic self, and you're not, like, being vulnerable, and you're not saying, "Well, this is just me," because you're so afraid of people are gonna judge you for it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I hid was I love reality TV, but I love the kind where it's like competition, like where you're put like Survivor. Well, I also love the singing and the dancing
Yeah. What
because
about like American Ninja Warrior? Do you like that one?
I
Or
do like that. That's more physical.
you like being dropped out in middle of nowhere kind of
Well,
survival?
no, because I like the one where there's dynamics, there's social dynamics, like Big
Okay.
Brother and Survivor.
Okay.
Because that you can't get away from your real personality in those shows.
Mm.
Now, I know that they're kind of produced and to make
Yeah.
people like the bad person and stuff like that, but when you get right down to it, I'm fascinated and I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I watch those shows," but I would only tell people that I knew who, like, knew me and liked me or, I wouldn't like because
Oh
they're
my God, Laura, do you know how many
reality
people?
person. But I don't like the kind that, like, Desperate Housewives and they throw things. That I'm not into.
Right.
But I'm really interested in people that number 1, I like to see people who are passionate, so the singing and the dancing about they are living their purpose.
Yes.
They're gifted and they're living it and they're just going after it. So that's number 1. But I love the social dynamics where the personality comes out, and I'm always trying to figure out, like, what makes them tick. I've always been fascinated with people. I used to
Okay.
love to go to the mall and sit there and watch people. So then I started put like, "Oh, I'm interested in that. Well, does it really have meaning? Well, yeah, if I can learn from it how people are the dynamics, maybe it can give me an idea in my coaching." So ultimately, there was a tie. And it's so funny because I started working with a personality expert because what his work is fascinating to me. And he helped me understand how people actually aren't living their authentic selves and how serious this is in our world. Like over 70% are not living their authentic self. They're hiding, he calls it wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And that can cause really bad health problems. So it stresses people out.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of like physical signs, and just exhaustion and just not feeling happy. That's a lot of that. Like probably you're
Yeah.
misaligned. But anyways, so I started working with him. So he reads people and he can tell what your personality type is. It's fascinating stuff. So I actually work with him. I actually visited him. We went to malls and he would say, "Okay, what type is that
Right.
person?" And so I'd be like, "Oh, okay." It was really an amazing experience. And you know what he told me for my homework assignment?
What?
To come home and to watch Survivor.
Oh, there you go. So see, we're doing the right thing all along. Okay.
I mean, who would have thought?
There you go.
So if you are out there thinking, I like these things and I'm interested in, but they have no meaning to anything that I could possibly do. They
Not
have
true.
no relation to anything I do. You're a people person. You'd probably be interested in coaching. You might have thought about it before. And if you look back, I wanted to be a social worker when I first got out of college, but my
There you
mom
go.
said, "You'll
Coaching.
never make
Right.
money doing that." And then when I started having these unhappy moments in my corporate career,
Yeah.
I started thinking, "Oh, I would really like to be a therapist. Oh, but I don't want to go back to school." So always talking myself out of it. So yeah, so there were a lot of these things indicated an interest in people in a way in which now aligns to being a coach.
So there you go. That's a great story. I love that. Here when you were scared, you're keeping your big dirty secret of loving so much.
Yeah.
He goes tells you to watch it. So this is and I'm not going to share this whole story. Maybe I'll do it on one of my solo episodes. But it's interesting. When I said, "What is somebody doing that you're secretly looking at, admiring?" Say, "God, it looks like
Yes.
fun." I used to sit in the audience and go, "Oh my God, I want to be that person on stage," because of the way that person made me feel as an audience member. I'm like, I can do that. I want
Dr.
to.
Phil. Oh my God. I want to be Dr. Phil and have his skill set.
And now I'm a public speaker, but my everything in my mind was like, who am I to want to be on stage speaking? Anyway, that's a
Yes.
whole nother topic. But so I love this. So here we go. We're gonna reel it back in because I still want you to share your dare with everybody. But if you're struggling with what your purpose, finding meaning and purpose in your life, number one, don't make purpose be this thing that is a destination. It's a purpose is in the activity. First, find out what you're interested in. Will it have meaning? Is it in alignment with your values? Meaning, what's interesting? You can Google core values. There's lists everywhere that you can figure that out. And then take little steps and try things and see what happens and be open. Be open and pay attention and notice how you feel when you're doing your new interested activities. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you have to start the doing. A lot of people are so stuck, they're just in inaction.
Yeah.
They're not
That's the same thing
doing.
as says the dare. Dare is doing. So yeah, dare is taking action and taking one step forward.
Mhm.
So, all right, before we get into the dare, because all my guests, Laurie knows she has to give you a dare. Laurie's giving you a great resource. It's a free training you have that's called From Stuck to Sparked, right? So
Yes.
below here are all the links on how you can connect with Laurie, connect to her podcast, grab this great resource from Laurie. And Laurie, what's your dare?
Yes, but when you asked me this, I was like, what is something that is easy, but I think it's gonna be hard for a lot of people to do?
That's right. We call it dare.
So, yeah, because it was really hard for me, and so I can totally relate. So my dare is for you to sit by yourself in the silence, and I would challenge you to do it for an hour, at least an hour, and so and you can actually I say sit, you can go on a walk,
No ear pods, though.
no music, no podcast, silence, just, birds chirping maybe, or you just sit in the quiet of a nice corner that is nice and comfy and cozy. Uh, but you have to mark your calendar, block it off, make sure nobody's around you, nobody's going to interrupt you. Your phone is not in your hand. It is a way you are committed for 1 hour, 60 total minutes. You can set your alarm right on your phone so you can have it for that. But just be quiet. And I would recommend, well, if you're walking, you can't close your eyes, but if you're sitting, I would recommend closing your eyes. And what I want you to do is when you wake up or when you open your eyes or when you end that 60 minutes, when the alarm goes off, I want you to write down what's top of mind. What has come up for you in that 60 minutes? A lot of things might come up. Um, but I really want you to think about just when you're happy. Like think thoughts, think back to a time when you're really, really happy, and just feel into that feeling of, joy and happiness. Our mind will race and want to think about the things on our to-do list, the things that we should have done yesterday that didn't get done. But when you think of those things, just try to shoo them out of your mind. And it's hard, but I do that as well. So just feel into good feelings, and when you come out of that 60 minutes, just jot down. I spend at least 10 minutes with a piece of paper and a pencil, pen, writing, not stopping. Just keep writing. Even if it's just like scribble that comes out, and then just keep like writing. And it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to have like any meaning. Just do it, because what you're doing is you're trying to open up a connection
Yep.
to your higher self.
Yeah.
You're trying to open up a connection to that subconscious, which there is an all-knowing part of you. And when we are really busy, and when we don't stop and take a breath, and most of us are super busy. I used to be so afraid of sitting quietly because I knew something would come up, and it was going to be the life that I was living wasn't the life I was supposed to be living. And I know deep down, my ego, my scaredy cat
Mhm.
brain was trying to keep me protected from change, big change that I needed in my life. But the funny thing is that big change was going to lead me to a lot more happiness, and a lot more feeling like purposeful in my life. And ultimately, thank God that did happen. But when you sit in the quiet, it allows things that need to come up to come up,
Yeah.
and it will, yeah, I guarantee you will get something, just like going off of that exit that we were talking about
Yes.
earlier, and you're not knowing what's going to come up. Something's going to come up. And what I want, and you can do an intention before you do this hour. Just say, higher self, let me know an activity.
Well, here, I'll give you, may I
Yeah,
offer something?
sure. Yeah, yeah,
For our conversation, why not sit down and say, okay, if you are struggling with purpose, say, okay, what are some things that I used to be interested in, that I might be interested in? Universe, show me, download, and just be in the quiet and see what comes, and just see what comes.
exactly.
And
Yes.
and I love that. So you're going to take 60 minutes, put your phone on airplane mode. This way you won't have any dings and dogs. Set your alarm for 60 minutes, either walk or sit in silence. If you're sitting, close your eyes, set an intention of what you want to download, what you want the energy of the universe to bring to you. And then when you're finished, write. And don't judge yourself. I don't care how crazy or silly, whatever it thinks, never in a million years would I have thought, oh my God, I want to, who says, I want to stand on stage and speak, says no one ever, but I did. It's the biggest fear people have. So Laurie's a life coach now. So I love that dare. I love the dare to sit in
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah, and one other thing that I would say is sometimes the answers take a little time.
Yeah.
So if you don't get a good answer, then try it again.
Yeah.
Go back and do it like a couple days later. And usually, answers come within 3 days is what I
Okay.
understand. So, and you can even do it before you go to bed at night. Dreams will bring you answers.
Oh, yeah. If you
So,
ask the universe to,
yes.
allow something to come in when you go right before you go to sleep, it can happen. But that takes practice too. So it's rinse and repeat. This dare is a rinse and repeat.
Yep.
And if it takes 3 times, make it a triple dare and do it 3
Yeah.
days in a row. 3
Yeah.
days in a row.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Laurie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing so much. I think a lot of good tips. I love your steps to take for purpose. So, all right, everybody, you're listening or you're watching. What landed for you? What landed? We don't talk just to hear ourselves talk. Well, maybe I do. No, I'm only kidding. We don't talk just to hear ourselves talk. We talk and we share. And I bring all these guests because I want to support you in making this next chapter even better than the last. So, what was a takeaway? What landed with you? Head over to the pod wherever you listen to this podcast. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. And as always, dare on. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond Empty Nest. Head over to jodysilverman.com for our full show notes, more information, and additional resources to support you through empty nest and midlife. And if you've enjoyed today's show and are ready to embrace this midlife shift, then you must take the Happy for No Reason quiz. When you take the quiz, you'll discover what your happiness set point is and how you can increase it and continue to strengthen it. This is just one key to navigating life transitions and discovering your most fulfilled and daring life. So go ahead, click the link below and take the quiz now. I'll see you next Thursday. They're on.